alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
How you beautiful Ugandans, it's your girl Teddy. Welcome to the fancy flow. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where are you think? Teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the fancy flow. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl Teddy Tenjo. It is the fancy flow.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
A very good evening, our viewers. We thank you for joining us this evening. It's another edition of the Hotline Show every Monday where we sit here and discuss a number of issues happening within our country and, of course, the entire region. My name is Abdalla Tiff, and I am glad that you're watching us from wherever you are. And in the studios today, I have colleagues, members whom we are going to discuss a lot in regards to the East African community. You all know that Uganda is among the very, very first members that formed the East African community, and before it was called the East African the East African community that was established in November 1999, but of course its first the initial formation, it was in 1967. That's after Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania realized that there is need to have that regional integration whereby a number of issues can be discussed. Well, in the studios, I have one of the East African Legislative Assembly aspirant, and that is Mr. Julius Bukyana. He is a senior journalist, and he chose to take another course, take another direction, to also serve his country by representing it in the East African Legislative Assembly. And then I also have Bwana Tugume Gideon. Tugume has been in the news for a couple of months. You know, he speaks for the NUP faction that's based in Kabowa. And having him in the studios, of course, we're going to learn a lot from him, and maybe even to know much about what's happening within the NUP Kabowa faction. Whether we had a communication from the NUP Kamocha about their position on the East African Legislative Assembly elections, and they are not taking part in this. That's what they said. And of course, there are those issues between the two factions. One says we are the rightful owners of the party, and now the question, what is a party? So maybe Mr. Tugume Gideon, he will elaborate more on that and perhaps tell us how far they are prepared for the East African community, for East African Legislative Assembly elections, whether they are also going by the faction in Kamocha or they are fronting candidates. Well, I want to give room to, I want to invite Mr. Bukyana to say hi to our viewers, and then we dive into the discussion.
Thank you so much, Abdalla Tiff. Dear viewers, I want to thank you so much for sparing your time. This evening time, especially on a Monday, is when everybody goes back home to meditate on what the week is going to be, setting up goals for the week. For the corporate people, on a Monday is a day for coffee, to meeting up with clients, mostly the lawyers and those working into the production of, of services in this country. I want to pray so hard to the people who have had problems, that you overgo them this very week, and those who have gotten good things, to praise the Lord, and those who are yet to receive them, praying hard to receive good things from the Lord. I pray that you do receive the blessing that you're yearning for. My name is Julius Bukyana. I've practiced journalism for close to 10 years. And I've been into the corporate world for 2 years as a PRO. I've practiced this profession in 2 countries, in Rwanda and here. And I believe that me resigning from active journalism, I would say active because I'm no longer in the newsroom. I'm now into something like this to give analysis on current affairs and all that comes into the combine of current affairs. But 2 years ago, when I was chosen to be part of the presidential campaign, I represented NBS television to cover President Museveni as a candidate in the last election. I noticed that I had a lot of knowledge about regional integration, that I kept on wondering why the president kept on promising that in this term he will advocate for regional integration. So I took time to understand that this president of ours not only wants to rule Uganda, but also has a vision of combining the 5 countries by then, 6 countries by then, to be in one accord of one country. I realized that he also advocates for a single currency. I realized that he also advocates for a single army. That was the president I was on as a media person. So in that election, when he was vying for his seat that he's holding right now, I talked to a few candidates who were standing by then, who I saw would be winning. Because when you go to a region, you would know. The incumbent is still strong or is going to lose. I didn't see the wave coming of the NUP because most of the people in the Uganda region where we traversed with the president seemed strong. But what came out and we appreciate. But thereafter, when the president was chosen the president and the Justice Bakama pronounced him president-elect, I realized that most of the people that went through also the people I met in the election, in the other parts of the region. So my issue was now to be introduce myself as somebody who would wish to go to the EALA. Most of them did not take it as number one because they were just members of parliament elects, not yet sworn in, not yet had an agenda yet. So when they sworn in, at my station, the policy is you don't engage in active politics when you're still a staff.
Yeah.
So I was doing the devil's chrome, to moving under the ground to move things. Moved to every candidate, every MP elect, telling them, you know what, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in this. Most of them told me, but how are you going to do it when you're a journalist? You need to show us the seriousness. So because that's where I used to get the Mugati at NBS, I decided to balance. Yes, I had to balance. So in about 2 months to June, that was April and May, my bosses got to realize that I'm in this. And they cautioned me, said, take a closer look of where you want to go. If it is politics that is making you go to parliament,
let it be.
Let it be. If you wish that you need to take the left-hand side of the load, please do that. I went home and I talked to a few people who mentor me in this. One of them is a very big person in government. And I told him, you know what, I want to have myself into elective politics of EALA. He first asked me, are you prepared? Do you really want this? Because he didn't know that I was doing the devil's chrome under. I asked him to make a few phone calls to people who matter. So he called one of the ministers. Told him, has Bukyana reached you about EALA? Said yes, he even asked for a vote. But I think we are voting in September. But he started too early to me. So he knew that I had done some good work. Fast forward. Time came and I knew that now I'm meant for politics. But leaving a lot of the chapters of the book going to the conclusion, I've been a guild president before. I've been a youth leader before. Let's get there.
Well, I also want to first bring in Ndogo Tugume. Of course, we've had you. This is, I think, the second time here.
Yes.
We've had you here before, but still, every time we have new viewers, and so they would love to know.
Thank you very much. I was just enjoying the discussion. You know?
We'll get there.
If you could borrow me your time, I finish up. You can borrow me your time, I finish up.
No, he has just left journalism. And you know, journalism is a very interesting profession. When I was still a journalist, I used to enjoy the profession. And when you've just enjoyed, you've just left it, you still have that kind of thing, you know. It is a lot that you are not, you report and you get the news. For the rest, you don't talk about your sorrow. So when you get time of talking about your sorrow,
you have to maximize them.
So I just want to...
Can I finish up?
But if you viewers, my name is Gideon Baguma. I'm here once again, and thanks a lot management for inviting me again to appear before this wonderful digital TV. I speak for NUP. NUP has no factions. There is no faction which is in Kabowa. There is no faction in Kamocha. NUP actually is one. I have always been telling people, and ever since actually we shifted our headquarters to Kabowa, there is no NUP at Kamocha. They are trying to fix something somewhere where there is no even a building, where there is nothing. And those ones are there. But they are not in Kamocha. Do you know that? There is completely nothing called the NUP in Kamocha. They have fixed themselves somewhere in Bwaise, in the something which is a shelter of the sort. Anyway, that one has no problem. We elected our leaders on 25th of May, 2022. And I don't know why people are not appreciating the internal democracy of a party. When a party elects and removes a person, then you have to, that person has to wait for another election or has to bow out. But when a person continues and you people, the journalists, still consider the person that was removed.
Who was removed?
No, Chagran Center was removed as the president of the party because of some issues that had happened. That was a peaceful transition. The transition that is being thought about by NRM has already been done in NUP. So we have already elected other people. And
who is the current president of
the
NUP?
The current president, we are going to unveil him very soon. He was elected. And in
absentia?
No. This is a person whom we are going to unveil at a later stage.
So that means you didn't elect the president?
No, we elected the president. And you people, you did not take, by the way, journalists did not take the initiative to ask of the people that we elected.
Now we are asking.
When we submitted to Electoral Commission, and we is supposed to, actually the Electoral Commission is supposed to gazette within 21 days, which they haven't done. And so within...
you said you elected on 25th?
On 27th of May. And up to now, they haven't gazetted. And what they had to do was try to two of our members and saying that you submitted the following, and so we want to know your stand. Why were you there and why are you still there? A political party, if we want to go and be elected, you have to resign all your positions. Even those ones that are holding the positions right now. If it is time for elections, you have to resign and be elected. There are those who were not elected because they failed to go through. And so if we elected and we submitted our returns to the Electoral Commission and there was no court injunction against that, then I don't see why the media is not recognizing our presence. However, we still have to stand and go ahead. Now, on my part, I really thank God that I was nominated as a candidate for the East African Legislative Assembly. However, I don't think I will take it up because of what is happening. I've been, in elections. I've seen how elections are going around. And so it is just a waste of time. I wanted to tell my brother, it is a good thing he mentioned something, that he has got a big man in the government who can probably put a hand on him. Otherwise, without that...
No, actually, he didn't mean that.
No, okay, he didn't mean that, but it's almost related to that, If you have somebody...
Let me make it clear. Say he's a mentor. He's a mentor. Before I joined politics, he's been mentoring me.
Being a mentor and being inside the government, he can easily mentor you, even to EALA. He can assist you somewhere. But what I've realized and what I've seen, the elections here is not about who can win election. No, it is about whom they want to go and represent the country and whom they feel they want. So I can't just waste my time to go into elections. We have been having elections in Uganda. There was a recent by-election in
Gogonyo,
Soroti, and another one in Kasese. Yeah, there was a Kimbiri in your press in Kisoro. You saw what happened. In Gogonyo, there was no any other candidate apart from the NRM, but they had to put someone, actually the one who resigned and even left the elections was forced to remain. His post was forced to remain there because they want to show as if there is somebody who is actually standing. So if you went to Soroti and saw what happened in Soroti, Me, in Gogonyo where I was, by around 11, elections had been finished. You go and find almost 500 people presumably they have already casted their vote. That means they have not. But you know, people who are there have already put the ballot papers in the box, so are waiting to be counted. So in other words, there is nothing that there is a competitive elections in Uganda. And me, I'm one of those that I wouldn't participate much in such a kind of elections being organized by such a kind of electoral commission, which is not independent, which is there just for the purposes of accountability. Well, so I can't stop at that. And with that. But I thank you so much for your time. Abdalla Tiff, you have really given me much of the time to invite me here, and I'm happy to meet my brother, Bukyana. Bukyana has been reading my news anyway, and I appreciated it so much. So him being here today is of great importance, and I think we have to have a very great discussion.
Well, thank you so much. The whole discussion tonight, we want to look at, we need to critically understand the East African regional integration. You see, this is something that has been in existence since 1967. Along the way, it got, stunted for a while, and then it has been resurrected, and now it's moving. But whether you believe in the process or you don't, I think the elections have to take place. And just like the treaty that was signed by all the member states, it clearly indicates that the process that should be undertaken, that should be gone through to have the 9 members representing each state. And of course, we know that of late, Congo has been added, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then some time back, Sudan, Southern Sudan was added, much as Southern Sudan has not been so much compliant to some of the expectations of it, like remitting some funds to the community. There have not been. But of course, we all understand what's happening in Southern Sudan. Things are not so good. But when we look at, if you happen to read the treaty, the East African Community Treaty, it's a good document. I don't know if you've had time to go through. You find that the intentions of this whole thing is really good for the member states. But the biggest question is, you are aspiring, you want to go there. At one point he had the interest to go there, and he withdrew his interest. But the East African Community will exist. But is this something we should be proud of as a member state? I think I want to start with Julius Bukyana, now that you're directly into this.
Thank you so much, Abdalla Tiff. Anything that brings together people for development should be good. But how to reach the development is the question. Yeah. See, even in the family, you can say we want to buy land and build a house for our father. Because we are grown up, he needs to have a decent home where we can also be proud of saying this is our home. But you may find dissenting views from your fellow family members saying, but what's wrong with the house where our dad stays?
This is where we all grew up from.
Yes, can't we just modify this one instead of building a new one? When it comes to having dissenting views, let me give an example. The community decided that if you're part of the member states, every member state national would travel within the community using a national ID. But the then president of the Republic of Tanzania, Magufuli, came and trashed that and said, entering Tanzania, you need a passport. In the whole community, it's only Tanzania where you enter with a passport. I'm talking about family members who are not descending to what? To building a father's new house.
But they appended the signatures.
They appended the signatures
onto the treaty.
3 years ago, the Kigali, Rwanda, how that border is called? Gatuna border
was closed.
Ego of the family members to build a new house for their father. About 6 months ago, Kenya refused the milk, the beans,
from Uganda,
the wheat, the meat, the eggs from Uganda, citing a lot of inconsistencies in the production and aflatoxins for the posho. I'm trying to paint a picture for you that the community, the founding fathers gave it a very strong core foundation. But the people holding the mantle now, I want to
They're
say that,
dismantling
yes,
that.
the people who started part of this community was President Museveni.
That is the revival now.
Yes, the revival.
Yes.
But the people who really started the community had very good intentions for it. See, when you go to Southern Africa, there is SADC. When you go to...
Very strong.
Very strong. When you go to European, they have the European Union.
European Union, yeah.
We have the African Union here, but it is a toothless dog. We have the COMESA, and then we have the Great Lakes Conference. Now, why I'm painting for you a picture of the East African community is it was started in one good accord, but its progression over the years has been dwindling. When President Museveni was talking to the summit, when he was the chair of the East African community, he told them, excuse me, however much we need to have the integration fulfilled, there needs to be lowering of our egos. Let's work for our nationals. It took the first son to go to Rwanda to open up the border. It took the president of Angola to talk to the Kenyan president, Kenyatta, and tell him, you know what, you need to allow these goods to enter. At one point, many traders were killed a long way to Juba from Uganda. It took President Museveni to call Salva Kiir here and tell him, you know what, we're in the community together. Why would you kill my people? Can't you provide security? There are so many questions onto the integration, but the questions should be answered by the people who sit in the assembly. The community is the arm, but the organ is the EALA. The EALA puts policies into practice, which policies must be effected on the assembly floor. But who are we sending there to put these policies into perspective for other countries to read through and pass them? We need competent people. I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I've done a master's in international relations and diplomacy, and I mastered in ESC. My colleagues mastered in EU, others in SADC, others in COMESA and African Union. Why I did ESC is because I wanted to understand the trade politics, the common market protocol policies, the monetary union policies, and of course, the protocol of free movement. Till today, I can tell you, Uganda was supposed to hold the headquarters of the East African Monetary Union. It was taken to Tanzania, where there is the EAC Secretariat, where there is part of the EAC African Union Secretariat for East Africa, and now they're taking their what? The East African Monetary Union there. Right Honorable Kadaga has been fighting for this to come here. But the integration seems to be taking it away to the coast. Kenya and Tanzania taking most of the bigger share of the integration. But Uganda, we are saying, it all depends on the leaders we are sending in the assembly.
Julius, I think when you bring that same point, I find it something beyond the competence of the members. You see, if you're trying to make an association, you look for people whom you have a few of common grounds, by the way, all of us here in the studios are journalists. So if you're forming an association, like, no, at least I have something that connects me to him, something that connects me to you. But do you think that can prevail in a society, in a community where even the levels of democracy, they vary, the human rights, they are understood differently by all the member states? Don't you think, even dictatorship, by the way, you know, it's always said there are some dictators within the region. You know, we've seen power changes in all the member states. Don't you think these are some of the factors that could be propelling these people? Like, no, for Uganda, there is a lot that needs to be sorted out.
Now, let me tell you this. Every member state sends 9 members to the assembly. But to some countries, the rules of voting they send to the assembly are different. For Rwanda, it is the president that appoints. They don't vote. There is no anywhere where members from Rwanda voted. The same to South Sudan. The president just says, you know what, let me send to Mhimbise Norman is the one going to represent Sudan. Norman, you also represent, and also Abdalla Tiff, you represent, like that. Arnold and all the others. Here in Uganda, they say a quarter of the parliamentary seats, the party in position to have more members in the mother parliament will send a quarter of the what? Of the members. Those were 6. I want to bring you to this. There are very many ways to cook meat. Others will say, I'm going to cook it in a boiled way. Others will say, I will fry. The issue is, when you cross Uganda and go to the assembly, nobody wants to listen about your NRM, about your FDC and the others.
It's a country now.
It's a country. And what you do there is lobbying. Let them not tell you we are lobbying for a better East Africa. No. They are lobbying for their countries. That's why when you go there, Museveni first calls you to State House and tells you, so what are you taking? Wants to have your manifesto, read through, and know which kind of person are we sending there. Are they for the good of Uganda or for the bad? That's why he tells them that we should send Sidanda for DP because DP is good. It's good opposition. He tells them UPC because UPC is good opposition.
Good DP.
Good UPC, good DP. But even the person of the independent, us who are coming on independent, they have our briefs already.
We have the good independent.
They want to have the good independent. For us who have been journalists and been covering NUP, they see and they
you have some attachments to
Bukyana really deliver. But for the good of the MPs, they say, if Bukyana can really devolve into the matters of ESC, we need him on the ballot. That aside, when you go to ESC, Abdalla Tiff, I'm going to tell you this. No MP that goes to EALA and is fighting for the party, tell you.
That's true.
Bonna basakira gwanga. What Kadaga is doing right now to fight for the East African Monetary Union to come here is because there is what? A pull of a rope to Tanzania. They want to push it to Tanzania, and she's saying, bring it here. When it comes here, jobs will come. People will get a lot of contracts. The construction, the food, the designs, everything will be here. And that is what we call lobbying. Members who are there, if you do not have the impact of lobbying, why are you in EALA?
So if you does that take us back to the criteria we used to have these members represent us, or it's the wrong choices we make as a country?
The induction that President Museveni did on the East African Parliamentary Committee, the induction of the members on that committee, PLO Lumumba said, how I wish you would amend your constitution on voting EALA members. Let it go to the public, because they are answerable to the public. But the Ugandan constitution says the people are supposed to return back to the mother parliament and give a report.
Actually, that's the treaty. That's the treaty. East African, yes.
Yes, they are supposed to give the mandate to the people to vote for the EALA members. And that's when we shall vote competent people. But if it is a college vote and not adult suffrage, we still have a lot to do. Bukyana will be dropped, God forbid, because maybe he did not have money to converse through the MPs to go through, because it's a college vote. You must bribe people, you must give them money, you must go to their functions and all that. But if people understand why people go to EALA, it should be views, it should be integration knowledge, it should be regional politics.
Thank you so much. The way Gideon is looking at you is like, I wish this man becomes a representative of the country.
You see, what we need to know is that things would have been put in place prior actually. For example, the division of what you are talking about, the headquarters of the monetary union, the headquarters of, because the Court of Justice, those would have been put initially into the, preparations for the East African community. They were not. Because if Uganda pulls, tomorrow Congo will pull, Sudan will want, Rwanda will want. And these are few of the things that need to be done. So they were not done. They probably would be left to Arusha, so that everything is in Arusha. This is the capital city of the East African community. The East African community is lacking mandate. It lacks locus. The people have not grasped what it means. If you went to Chana Mukaka or to Tungamu in Ruham, where I come from, and you talk about East African community, few will understand the importance of the community.
They'll even ask you what is that.
They will even ask you what is that. People just on the top are just sitting to talk about the community. They're asking, my people in Ruhama were asking me, because when I go home, I have friends, I have people who take me to be a serious person, well learned, and so they come to ask me, why did you bring Congo in East African community? Why did you bring Sudan on East African community? You have no actually answer to tell them. Apart from what the leaders are talking about trade, you don't need actually to bring these people trade with them, no. We are trading with America. We don't need to bring America into East African community. We trade with the Arab countries. We don't produce oil right now. We get oil from everywhere. You heard what the president was talking about, Russia, talking about Ukraine. Those countries, nobody knew that actually we are dealing with those countries. They are far away, far, far away. But we are dealing with them because we have a protocol on how we have to deal with them in trade. So we don't need this. And secondly, when you look at the setup of the East African community, it is a whole bogus. Sudan speaks Arabic, I think Arabic. When you go to Congo, they speak Lingala and French. When you go to Rwanda, I think they have started, and Kiswahili. Rwanda have started, I think, putting in some English, but it is French. Burundi is also the same. So you are bringing people who cannot even listen to each other into the community. What are you going to discuss? Language is very important.
Yeah, but they introduced a common language. Yes,
the language, which common language?
That is Kiswahili.
No, are they discussing in Kiswahili? You go to Arusha and see. It is not Kiswahili at all. How many know Kiswahili? If I asked him to speak Kiswahili for 5 minutes, he might fail.
He's from the border.
I can speak Kiswahili.
Okay, anyway, for you could be lucky. But I'm telling you that people don't know even the languages that are being spoken at the East African community. They cannot communicate together. There is a common language. When you look at the European Union, they set up a standard. For you to be in the European Union, your language must be English. And those countries adopted to English, by the way. And they discuss in English language. So here, you are bringing a Congolese, you are bringing these people are discussing this. This is like the Tower of Babel. You've never heard the Tower of Babel? They were trying to build to go and find God in heaven. And they started speaking different languages. So because of non-communication, one would beat another, the bullet, the stone. At the end of the day, the tower was not built to complete. That is what is happening at the East African community. Then thirdly, the things that are taking place. When you look at Uganda, Uganda is as if it's only East Africa, by the way. Because when you go to look into the movement of people, people can come from Congo, they will come in Uganda. They come from Sudan, they will come in Uganda. But you try to go to Congo and see how difficult it is to enter Congo. There is a young man who tried to enter. He's in jail, has been there for 20 years. Samu Mugumya. Have you ever heard him?
I know him.
He was just arrested for entering in the Congo.
Not 20 years.
How many years?
I think he was arrested in 2000.
I understand he has served about 10 years now without trial. It's
coming to 10.
It is coming to 10 years without trial. Go to Sudan. You go to Sudan, they would ask you, you are not a Sudanese. One can easily shoot you, can easily do anything. You go just to Kenya. I'm a lawyer, but you go to Kenya here, practice law. You will not. You can't practice law in Kenya unless they subjected to a different arrangement. I have my colleagues who went to Rwanda and studied the law.
So it take 10 years.
Yes, you see, you can't. And we are in East African community. Which kind of East Africa is that? We had our pastorists who were in Tanzania of recent. They were there and they were chased away. That you are not Tanzanians, you go. They came with many cows. They came in Uganda, they are not welcoming them. They went there in the northern Uganda, they were chased from northern Uganda. And that is it. We are now in political parties. I'm a secretary general of a party. I speak for the party, right? But I don't know what is happening in the East African community. Tomorrow, I'm the minister. Why am I take even the presidency? Because I have the capacity to stand for the office of the president. But I don't. Yes, my party has the capacity to field me and I stand. And I can win election. If I win elections in Uganda, will I recognize East Africa? Do I know anything about East African community?
Maybe you just don't want to.
No. Please, you were part of us. Have we ever attended any conference called by any leader to discuss issues of East African community? I'm even wondering that you here, you can even call us to discuss this. It is not happening elsewhere.
Tugume.
People completely, yes, in short, let me just conclude by saying, even in elections of the members, as has been, it's better even they appoint the members into the EALA. Because in Uganda, it is only NRM that is sending the members. Even the six are pure NRM. But the rest have got something yellow inside.
Some attachment.
Yes, inside yellow, outside something different. If you are not attached to NRM, you can't go. That's why they are saying there is a good UDP, there is a good UPC. Remember, UPC, the better UPC which would be...
Bukyana is also advocating for the good independence.
Look, the one which would be the best UPC is led by Warubiri according to court's report.
Warubiri.
Yes, Peter Warubiri. But it is not represented anywhere.
It's not good.
It is even not, because it is not recognized, even the government cannot recognize it. So you look at that, and that's not the only way. So in this case of the matter, is that NRM is actually sending in only NRM members. Why should you send 6 and the rest send only 3? Can't you send 4? But because you want to send everybody to... So NRM is creating jobs for itself. Here it is the party. When you go to other countries, that is it. What are they discussing about at Arusha? Ever since they were there, if you asked Honorable Mbidi, what have they discussed? There's nothing. Our people today have been at internal affairs. People who want to be deported to Congo, Congolese who are going to be deported from Uganda, Rwandese who are going to be deported from Uganda. You can't believe. Why are we deporting our own if at all we belong to the same bloc, which is East African Community?
Well, thank you so much.
Such, I'm not seeing any relevance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for our viewers, the discussion is about, we just need to clearly understand the East African community and that regional integration. I think to help our viewers, you mentioned that in the European Union, they speak one language, but we should also know that some members within that same union, others speak different languages. For instance, in the EU, we have France. They speak French. We also have German. We have the Finland, the Finnish people. So I think...
No, for that I don't understand. But you know, it is a common rule that the language of communication at EU is English.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I know that there are different countries. What is the language of communication at East African Legislative Assembly? Is it English? Is it what? And the members who are coming, do they send members who understand the language? Because the language is very important in the communication.
Actually, Mr. Tugume, the two official languages within the region, they're two, English and Kiswahili. So you can either communicate in English or you go for Kiswahili, basing on your convenience. And then maybe for the issue of that we have failed to accommodate one another, I think that's a very serious issue. That when a Kenyan goes to Uganda, you do not have to do a lot of explanation as if you're entirely from, away from the region. If a Congolese is in Uganda, we need to treat that person as one of us. And I think that's still lacking. Now, Bwana Bukyana, there is one, when you read the treaty, it talks about that one of the reasons for the establishment of this community is, one, there must be some uniformity. I talked about this earlier, that there must be common levels of democracy, respect for human rights, and but when you look at some of the member states, for instance, in Uganda, when you talk about human rights, many reports have come up and they see that a lot is wanting in Uganda. When you talk about democracy, our democracy here is questionable, and can we thrive in such a region whereby the way we look at democracy in Uganda, we have contexts now. In Ugandan context, our democracy is understood differently and understood by only us. When you go to Tanzania, the democracy they practice is different. When you go to Kenya, now look, it's how many countries within the region that have democracy that we can be proud of. Look at what's happening in Southern Sudan. Look at what's happening look at Rwanda. Look at, you find that they're, like you talked about the dissenting views. And I think the whole family now is disunited. I try to look for that common pillar that brings us together. It's hard for me to identify it. I don't know, maybe for you who is really so into this, and you did your thesis on East African community, maybe you can help our viewers to highlight those common grounds that bring us together.
Let me tell you something. There is a lot that the East African community is doing, which the local man, if we are to domesticate what it is doing, it can take us more 10 years. But I would say this, however much the treaty is talking about the supply of decent democracy, because there is undecent democracy in most of the East African states, and of course the human rights and everything, it is very unfortunate that a treaty is not above the constitution of those member states. A treaty is just a mere document to help operationalize the East African community. But it is not affecting the mother constitutions of these member states.
But these are common standards accepted
These are common standards
everywhere.
It cannot affect the operation of the country. Now, it is on the level of the community, but not on the level of the nation. Am I clear? Mm-hmm. It is like a father is the head of the family, but your views from the children, there is now we tell our father at home. Let me give you an example. We may have an issue to debate about. Probably he wants to sell off his car and go farm. And we tell him, but how will you move? Say, you give me money and I will move. You will send me your car because you're my son. And he says, I have the final what? I have the final say of what? My car. You can debate, but I have the final say. You can debate about my selling of the car, but I have the final say. The treaty can have all that it wants to do in the member states, but the states have the final say. That's why they say Sudan wants to pull out of the community, because it feels it cannot pay the membership fee. That its final verdict. It says, yes, I want to be in the community, but I can't pay. Uganda has been paying in bunches. It is only Kenya and Tanzania which has been paying full amount for the membership fee. And once you do not pay, the Secretariat of EAC is struggling. It will apply for grants in AU, it will apply for grants in GIZ, just to run the operations of your country, because you have members who are supposed to go and assemble. So what I believe, that the human rights are apportioned in phases. How I wish there was respect for the treaty. What happens in Uganda is different from what happens in Kenya. Mm-hmm. You saw the elections. Mm-hmm. Not even a single person was seen being slapped by the army on the street. What happened here on 18th of November? You would know. The BBC even had to do a documentary. 58 people lost their lives.
Not only 50, even
more.
100. More than 100 people.
Even more. So I believe that there is need for the respect of the treaty if we are to have a bigger picture of how the treaty is supposed to be respected in the region. But lastly, as I let Honorable, my colleague also come in, as the treaty is being effected in this country, can we also look at benchmarking at similar organizations elsewhere?
Like SADC?
Like SADC, COMESA, EU, AU, I mean, how they are running these organizations. But I believe that the Secretariat of EAC has a lot of work to do than only for seeing the works of these member states. Because the member state only comes, let me tell you something, these people only assemble, in 4 months they assemble twice. Yeah. And that is only 14 days. Mm-hmm. And those 14 days, these people are paid monthly. They are paid, the EALA members are paid monthly. But they only sit in about 2 months, they only sit for 14 days. What are you legislating then? What are you legislating? Yet you have a lot of work to do on your table. They're supposed to hold offices at the AU Secretariat, but they don't have these offices. They say their offices are supposed to be their member states. And then how are you going to benchmark? So I believe the whole process needs a revamp. If we are to look at EAC and how it is being run, there is a lot that we need to reflect in, zoom out, sit down, then we can push the agenda. If President Museveni is, I want to thank him so much for putting up the East African Standby Force. See, Congo has been having M23. Sudan has been having conflicts between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. If you go to Somalia, which wants to be admitted in the community, it has a lot of rebel groups. Congo alone has more than 100 rebel groups. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. More than 100 rebel groups.
Including virtual ones.
Including virtual ones. Including they themselves in government. Each general has a faction in Congo here. When the Salva Kiir and Riek Machar came here to partake on President Museveni's knowledge, he asked them, can you first organize a free and fair election? But these are the same people who are in the community. They've never had a free and fair election. We are going in how many? However much we have dissenting views on how they are processed. Kenya, how many have they had? They have their 5th president. Those are how many elections? 5 of them. So I believe that before the community sees its operations as one that we need to look into and have amendments to them, we also need to benchmark. How has SADC been able to operate in these times and they have a strong coalition? How has COMESA had the economic forum have the economic impact in the member states? Are we riding this community in a very good lane, or we're just trying to push ourselves on the side so that to take over the road and have a better view of the road?
Bwana Julius, before Tugumi comes in, I believe we have members of parliament who are watching this show, and for those who have not, our links are always, open to everyone. They will be able to look through this. Now, if today Julius Bukyana has been elected, can you fit into such a setting where things are moving on the contrary of what things they should be on, or contrary to what they ought to be?
In every basket of eggs, there is one which is very delicious, which you can partake and be like, however much I've lost the whole tray, I had one, which I can fry and have a very good omelette. That one stable egg could be Bukyana. I can assure you, yes, they could be our elders who have been there for 5 years. Very good legislators. The Mary Mujenyis, the Rosa Cole, Namara Dennis, Musamali, talk about Odong and James Kakoza.
Susan is not.
Susan is the one I want to replace.
Yeah.
And if you look at Mukasa Ambide and Opoka of UPC, I don't want to say they have been bad legislators. These are people who have been there for 5 years. So their experience on the community
actually
is
more
one.
Than 5.
Yeah, more. No, it's 5 years.
For Mukasa, like Mukasa Ambide.
Mukasa Ambide has been there for 10 years.
Yes.
Yes. So I believe that we should always tap into their knowledge on how the community works. You might have a theory of how it works, but physically, in the assembly. Let me tell you something. The assembly, the way it operates, is not how the mother parliaments operate. You only 54 members. If Somalia is added, you add +9, we'll have like 60 something, 62. 62 members, meaning you must be extremely active for you to be recognized. Nobody can go unnoticed. So your value can be known. 62 members, we have 529 in the parliament. And some say ever since they sworn in, they've never stepped there. And nobody traces their whereabouts. So if 63 can be monitored, and your impact is seen actually. It's seen in committees, it's seen in oversight, in the member states, and all the other operations that happen. So meaning anybody who is sent there should not shame this country. I want to say this on camera and on record. If any MP is sent to EALA, let them go with knowledge. Have a piece of knowledge about what EALA is all about. I've seen people I'm competing with splashing money. We go on an MP event, maybe in their constituency, and somebody is building a church or contributing to church building, and a fellow contestant gives in 2 million, and Bukyana has come with 200,000. The way they are going to perceive Bukyana and that candidate is really different. But I've always told them, can we look at the content somebody is bringing on the table than the money they are splashing?
Thank you so much. Now, Bukyana is driving me to something that has always been in my head for a while. You see, we have a general problem in this country that we lack civic competence. We lack civic knowledge. Now, in an election, like EALA members, these are intellectuals, they are voters. These are the people we hold in high esteem in our communities. And now, when you see such things happening, it again takes us back to the process that we went through to have such leaders. You all know that if you go through the processes and how we came up with the leaders we have in parliament, it's questionable. There are people who are in parliament, but even their own voters who voted them, by the way, willingly, they don't know them.
You know,
You look at the issues that determine the way our voters vote, and you get to wonder. Now, he is giving you an example that you're visiting a member of parliament, which is one vote actually. Yes?
and you need to spend about 2
but
million.
your competitor is dishing 2 million
No,
shillings.
let me tell you.
So does this take us back to
No.
that? We need civic
No, completely
education at all
rotten.
levels.
Completely rotten. I can tell you that even as you see, the member of parliament is going to hold a certain function in the village. This is one. When he comes to Kampala to go and debate in the parliament, his or her competitors, very many of them, are busy right now campaigning. Do you know that? In the villages, people are campaigning seriously
For 2026.
for 2026, and there is nobody stopping them. They say, no, this is not the time for campaigns. These members of parliament are so broke. They have spent everything they have already. Because when you enter parliament, you can get a loan. They were given a loan of about 500 million. They have spent the whole loan in the constituency, and their competitors for them, they are still putting much. So it is very horrible. Now what they have decided to do is to remain in Kampala. They don't go in the constituencies. They don't go to parliament because those who are demanding them are at parliament. So there is a problem. So even in East African community, we have a lot of differences that will not let us, unite and do something good. For example, in Kenya it is 2 terms. Uhuru has gone. In Tanzania 2 terms. In Rwanda it is of 7 years. The other one is 5. Rwanda is 7. Burundi, I think, is 5. You go to Congo, you even don't know whether another election will be there. You go to South Sudan, the same thing. You come to Uganda, the man has spent 40 years. And this is the champion. And the others are fearing. You say, maybe this man wants to, when you have cows and you have got a cow which is sick, it can easily spread the sickness to others. What we normally do in Ankole, we separate the sick from the what? We first treat them and we put them aside. So where you see President 7 or 40 years is the one championing, the others are fearing, say, this man is bringing the what? So actually there is disunity even in the management of affairs of East African community. So we are not together at all. Everything is so diverse. We are operating in different way. We are doing our things in different way. I've told you that a level of corruption which I've seen. When they nominated me that I should go and...
Who nominated you?
My party. My party nominated
But your
me.
party pronounced that they are not participating.
No, please.
in this.
That's what I've been asking you, that when a party holds a delegates conference and chooses the leadership, you don't question. You can either go to court. The moment there is no court that completely squashes our delegates conference, then what was done at the delegates conference is the right one. But you don't want to recognize. Do you want to hold our delegates conference? That's what we always ask them. No, my party, to which I represent, nominated me. But what has let me down is meeting about 10 members of parliament and they're asking me for something. What have you come with? If a member of parliament is asking me for some money in order to vote for me, then I can't go for that. That level of corruption, impunity, buying votes as it has been happening in Uganda when I'm seeing. I have been not supporting NRM simply because of its lack of integrity on the issue of elections. Again, I come to parliament where I want to represent, to go to the East African community. Then a member of parliament is saying, what have you come with? Now, where are we going? So that and I'm telling my brother, if he's not well prepared with money to offer as a bribe for the votes in the parliament, he's going to find it difficult. Please call us when elections are over. I'm telling you, the level of our people, of how they understand the members of parliament is completely different. And those who are seriously, by the way, following the law, to say that we should, work as how it is, there are very few. Ugandans are not voting the serious voters in the parliament. No. They are not voting the serious debaters. And even those who are going to East African community are not going to be serious people who are going to, to advocate for the Ugandan interest. No. They are going to send those who support NRM, those who failed. They failed in the other elections, and now NRM is trying to, our president would be saying, you give the other one because he failed there so that he can go to East Africa. Those are the kind of people we're going to see. Those who failed in the last elections, in the parliamentary in Uganda, are the ones going to be sent there. So you are taking not quality, you are taking quantity.
Gideon, I want to ask you this before we actually go for the break. I want to ask the same question I asked to Julius. You were all talking about the differences.
Yes.
Here we don't have term limits. Other people, their terms go for 7 years. Others have never held elections. Others, they change leadership. Now, is there anything different that you see, that some common grounds anyway? Do you see some common grounds for all the member states why we should, at least there must be something that we should be proud of this whole thing of integration?
No, I'm not so much seeing it, by the way. I'm not. Me, I hold a master's degree in business, finance and accounting. And somebody might tell me, for good trade, we need to have these people. Yes, it would have been better because the preparation is going to be so big. But what do you have that requires to be taken to Congo that is not in Congo? Congo grow cassava, we are growing cassava. Congo, what are we going to take in Congo? We would probably say maybe we are manufacturing here, so that we can take what are we manufacturing? Where is it? We are doing roads in Congo, we are doing what? But is it really for the common good? No. I'm not seeing any much reason. Only just for bringing people. The politicians whom we have are trying to bring different people so that they can confuse the initial, the people, the indigenous people, to start agitating for their own rights. For example, if you brought Congolese to be here, the Sudanese, the whatever, you cannot hear a Mutwa agitating for his place where he was in Mugahinga. He cannot say anything because this is no longer for a Mutwa. It is for everybody. You get me? So they are trying to run away from the problems that would come up. They are trying to run away from their responsibilities. These leaders are trying to run away from delivering services to the people. They want to say, now it is for everybody. We can get, maybe our people can go anywhere. Now, for example, we would be now putting up something, which unites us together and that can help our people. For example, if we went into a good agriculture, I went to Japan. And Japan, I went with 2 pineapples. And when I reached there, we cut the pineapples and we shared. They have never seen such a pineapple in the whole world. They said, is it possible for you to ship at least, about 20 containers in a month so that we can supply? Because they want every month. They have already tested, they want to see supply, which is there. Do we have those pineapples here? I limited. No, I wasn't. No, I'm telling you, you cannot. The ones they are growing are just for supplying Karerwe market in Nakasero. They cannot supply the international market. They can't.
Well,
let me tell you this. I went to China, and the Chinese love cassava, our Ugandan cassava. They said, is it possible for you to start supplying us cassava? I came back here. This cassava that is being grown is just on a small scale for eating and little for sale. You cannot, there is nothing that we are taking outside. Now, in Uganda, we are selling carrots from Kenya. Do you know that? That all the carrots we sell in the markets around Kampala, at least, are from Kenya. Actually, we are selling cabbage recently from Rwanda.
As you wind up, we need to go for a break.
So to wind up, our leaders have failed to deliver. They have failed to deliver services to the people. Now, they are now meandering. To meander is circumnavigating. Those are English words. but there's some kind of law in them that you circumnavigate around something, and you so you
circumvent.
so the countries the countries
Well, we need to go for
you can
we need to go for a very short break, and of course when we return well, that's
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digitalk brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short break, and of course the hotline show has to continue. Maybe to remind you, every Saturday we have Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje here on the Interface Show, and so just make it a date every Saturday from 10 to midday. He's always here, and well, we need to continue with our discussion about the East African community and how much has it really contributed to the development of the entire region. One good thing is that at least when you're traveling to Kenya, even Tanzania, whether you're using national ID or a passport, at least no one will ask you for a visa. That's one thing we should be, thankful. At least when you do not need a visa to visit any member within the region. And of course, there is, in some countries, with the exception of a few members who have chosen to be, I don't know the best word I can use, who have chosen to be, but there is some sort of flexibility amongst a few other countries. But again, the biggest question is, when do we hear the East African community raise up its voice against what's not moving on well? For instance, in your preamble remarks, you talked about the Uganda-Rwanda border, which was closed for close to 3 years. We've seen the traders who are being killed in Sudan, even recently by the Southern Sudan, even recently the people who were killed, just like I think a week back. Yes, some members were killed, Ugandan traders. And we've continued to see this, where you would expect a strong voice from the East African community. I don't know, has this thing remained just something for where people go, you sit, you sip a cup of coffee and then come back, and then as countries we continue injecting in huge sums of money to keep you people go there and enjoy those coffees? I don't know.
I want to believe it's not like that, but on a sad note, the community needs to up its game. That's the first thing. If you look at how the African Union has been giving its notices to what is happening in most of the countries that have had elections, it has sent observers there. The mission is not only eyeing every African continent, but also having its eye on how peace is being served. There's a time where we had a Secretary General of the East African Community Secretariat, because that's where everything is supposed to start from. The East African Legislative Assembly is just an organ of the Secretariat. Yeah. The Secretary General of the EAC is supposed to have all these notices and press releases put out if the community is to be heard into these circumstances. But again, if anybody is to understand that the community is not doing anything, then it must up its game. I want to say this. When DR Congo had M23 attack the FADC soldiers and they crossed over to Bunagana, it was an issue of EAC to come out and put close to the attention of the member state. Yeah. But you realize that Congo by then was not yet admitted to the EALA and EAC. So it needed more effort to quicken the documentation and receive the instruments of power to be admitted into the EAC. But even before that, we realized that even before the border was opened, President Museveni and President Paul Kagame met the Angola president. Somebody would ask, why did they have to go to Angola?
Actually, they met twice.
They met twice.
Yes.
Why? Because the president of Angola is the chairman of the Great Lakes Conference, which Great Lakes Conference is the nearest organization, which I would say nearest to the peacekeeping of this region, besides the the AU. And that president has not only had, dissenting presidents come to the table and have a peaceful conclusion of their matters, but even recently with Congo and Rwanda, saying that, oh yes, you are budgeting the people who are destabilizing my country and you're my neighbor. It is the president that told them, you know what, if you have proof, bring it. If he has proof, bring it. And I remember very well in that communique where the Great Lakes Conference chairman, the president of Angola, put on social media and said, I believe that there would be peace in Congo. And today, I want to say, yes, the military rule in Congo has not had a lot of disabilities over the past 3 months now, if I would say, after that meeting. But like I said earlier, benchmarking on what other organizations are doing is very key. East African Community is a diplomatic organization. In diplomacy, we say you can engage into war after all diplomatic measures have failed. That is dialogue. If you fail on a dialogue, then you can go to war. If you fail on peacekeeping, you can go to war. If you fail on the diplomatic way, you can go to war. Which diplomatic way is you sending your diplomacy mission heads to my country to talk to me, and I also send mine to you to talk to you. If all that fails, then you can engage into war, which I think Congo and Uganda have not, Congo, Tanzania, Rwanda, and the whole community have not gone to that extent. When I saw the commander of the land forces go to Rwanda to talk to the president, today he's in Somalia. Remember, the president Abdalla was here, Hassan, and asked the president to help him join the what? The EAC. And he has said to Hassan, we don't know what he is going to do there. But he's in Somalia as we talk right now. So I believe that the community needs to up its game in terms of benchmarking on how issues of member states must be handled. Because you cannot handle it as just a family. You can't. That where a son has reported a slap from the elder, you call the elder and start chatting and taking tea. No, you must engage in them and say what is not happening before even they go past your administration. Because once the two presidents now cross over to Angola, it shows there is a weakness somewhere. That's why they cannot go to EAC Secretary General, Muthaki. So I believe that there is need to up their game, and a lot must be done in benchmarking.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe before even Tugume comes in, I want to ask you this, like honestly. When you look at the East African community that started with the 3 member states, it had some strong common values, unlike the one of now. If you look at the East African community, it was called the East African Federation. Then the name changed to East African something. East African, there is a name.
You mean IBECA, the one of East African?
That was actually before. That was before we became to the federation. Yeah, that was. But now, when you look at the East African community of the Julius Nyerere, Idi Amin, It's not the one we have today. Now, is this something we need as a country?
Let me tell you something. When Rwanda closed the borders to Uganda, the Uganda Revenue Authority made a projection that Uganda lost about 320 billion shillings in taxes. My brother in Kigali told me if they found you selling Uganda waraji in your supermarket or a shop, you'd be subjected to a penalty. Because the border was closed, and how did you get it? I'm going to say this, that a lot of egos have made the community lose out on integrity. If we had a better community, no good, that's the common market protocol, by the way, the common market protocol. I believe that the free goods of people and services, of goods and services, sorry, would be one that we should be strengthening right now. The common market protocol would enable us to have a flourishing trade. If you look at how COMESA is operating, no country that is a member state of COMESA pays tax on each border. If you're bringing wheat here that is used to making chapati, my wheat in your country shouldn't be making chapati. Should be used to make mandazi.
I beg your pardon?
The common market provides that
the East African common market.
Yes.
Okay.
Which the summit is going to put signatures on. That if Mr. Tugume is Kenya and is bringing this side milk, his milk shouldn't be one to drink. It should be powdered to be sold to people. And if I'm to take milk there, it should be in yogurt form. So for it to get market, because I'm also taking milk to your country.
I think you talked about it.
You should be getting something unique from your product. If I'm bringing iron sheets, should they be coated?
Maybe with a different gauge?
With a different gauge, so that it can receive market in my country.
Not competing with another market.
Not competing. That's the common market protocol. It should have a difference.
But that's not in practice yet?
Not in practice as yet.
Okay.
Kenya brings here Brookside milk. It brings here Splash. It brings here this juice. I don't know how it's called. I've forgotten its name.
Yeah.
But it brings here
almost everything in the supermarket comes from
Kenya. The best peas that we eat here are from Kenya. Should I tell you about the grain business? Should I tell you about the milk business, the juice, the water? So I believe that the common market protocol is one that is going to lift up the East African community, if endorsed and strengthened to the dot. But again, one of my manifesto snippet points is the security of the region. I believe that coming up with the East African standby force was a tick for the community, because they realized they needed a force. AU has a force.
Yeah.
EU has a force sponsored by the UN. We needed this. Actually, I know what is making it not to be operationalizing right now is because of the funding. Because each member state is supposed to release some monies, send manpower, and also operationalize the army. And that is not making it to operationalize right now. But I believe that that idea was a unique one. But my point is, you formed the East African Standby Force. Are we ready to sustain it? Are we ready to make sure that East African community is the most peaceful in the whole world? That is a question to put up to our leaders who sit on the summit. Because yes, you put up the East African Standby Force, but is it ready to be put into sustainability? We must look at the sustainability of this very army. Kenya is adopting the first set, but who is again going to have the second lot? If we bring it here in Uganda, and later we take it to South Sudan, are we being fair to ourselves? Are we going to see peace prevail in each member state after Kenya adopting the first lot? There's a lot of questioning on that. But the idea of bringing it up in practice was a very strong idea from the EAC saying, yes, now we can have this.
You know, if I become so sober and lenient, I might not discuss, and this show will go when I have not shared the same time with him. Because for him, he's a candidate and he's taking a lion's share, which I do accept. So I need now to to change the tactics, and I come in and discuss. Otherwise, Mr. Presenter.
You have the floor.
Now, anyway, he's a good presenter. He really brings out the issues. My problem is one. Me, I always look at things in a different way. For example, you know, you people, you talked about visas and what. When you go to South Sudan, you have to pay before you enter South Sudan. If you want to go to Congo, even up to now, after it was admitted, you have to pay for the entry. I was in Malawi, there is no paying. I was in Zimbabwe, you don't pay. I was in Zambia, you don't pay. And these are not part of the East African community. There are things which I need to look at before you look at the force, standby force, with guns, with bullets, with what.
Let me just give this information.
Yes.
Actually, on the entire African continent,
yes,
it's these issues of visa payment, it's more on these Francophone countries.
Francophone, yes.
Yeah, almost
like,
Francophone.
But all English-speaking countries,
you just go.
They don't ask for.
They
visa.
don't ask for. You just run at the airport
yes.
and they put in your.
It's only Mali.
Yeah.
Those Francophone.
At least I've moved. I've been seeing that.
The French-speaking
so
countries.
I want to look at the East African industries. They used to be here in Uganda, employing Ugandans. They were all sold off. I want to look at the employment. Can our people, our Ugandans, go to Kenya and work without any problem? No. Right, currently, no. If you go to Tanzania, you are asked many questions. If we go to Rwanda, by the way, it is even more difficult in Rwanda to work in Rwanda when you are not a Rwandese. So I want just to see really those kind of things. Those are the things that need to be, you know, looked into. The common market they are talking about is something maybe it might come. But I'm also cautious when I see the president is sending the son to go to South Sudan. So it is the son who will mediate between Rwanda so that Rwanda can open the border. It will be the son who is going to talk to Somalia so that Somalia can come into war. That kind of thing of promoting the son as if Ugandans have completely dried off the mandate and my blind brains to do that is also bringing a problem. It can bring a problem to East Africa. Because people are just seeing as if we are pushing the South to be the one to take over. You know, even if they come together, we are pushing for the political federation. But how are you how are you running for political federation? Even the politics in your own country is not run well. Because you want to see that when there is election, you don't beat your opponents, you don't kill them, you hold the free and fair election, which is not there. Which example are you bringing? Those are the issues that we are really looking at. How can we go into that when the political players are not invited? A person like Dr. Besigye has stood for the last 4 years, four times. But I haven't seen, an organized conference on politics in East Africa being addressed by such a kind of people. So that, in the opposition, we don't know how the opposition are suffering in Tanzania. We don't know how opposition are suffering in South Sudan. That is why there are this fighting. In Congo, there was no good elections, like free and fair elections, which created these various factions you are talking of. The fighting, the what. What has Congo done internally to solve those issues before you bring in Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya to solve your problems? What are you doing in solving those issues? Those are issues we have to be talking about. My brother, you are going to East African Legislative Assembly. But in every assembly, there is what we call rules of procedure. You cannot just discuss anything. You can't talk about anything concerning Congo, concerning Uganda, if it is not on the order paper. Exactly. You can't. So things stand differently completely. And me to Gume, the way I behave and the way I am, I cannot go there. You don't talk about the issues concerning my people in Uganda, and I stay there. I will demonstrate. They will just say to Gume as demonstrated in Tanzania. So those are issues now. Well, but you give me time.
Please finish up.
Let me just, because
I just need to bring in another panelist who is in the US, but just finish up.
No,
then.
He can come in. He can come in and we go.
No, finish that point.
Okay.
Then I bring
no,
him.
the point I was trying to make is that we would have started from within our countries, organize ourselves, teach, educate our own citizens on the importance of belonging together with the other state. The reason why Uganda is Uganda, Rwanda is Rwanda, Tanzania is Tanzania, there was a reason to give rights and freedoms of those indigenous people in those areas. They have not attained their rights, by the way. Some people are still suffering. They cannot talk. When you go to Rwanda, you don't simply discuss, even discussing on such a TV, on discussing about the issues of a nation. If you cannot discuss within your community about what happens to you, how do you discuss at a level of the East African community? So I believe that without giving audience and credence to the people within the states, then it will never bring an impact to the community. We need to come back and look behind and see how to be together. Now, for example, here we have Buganda issue, which is not yet solved. Uganda is still suffering, saying Twagale Biaffe. They have never received theirs. And in Ankole, we are also coming up, we say, yes, Ankole Kingdom had land. I have never seen where that land went. I'm agitating for it.
But that was negotiated, it was compensated by the president.
We don't know. Whom did they compensate? Anyway, that is not that's not a day of discussion. But as a Munyankore, I'm asking, what happened to the land of Ankole? Where is it?
But you have Mugabe.
What
this
is
young
Mugabe?
man who was.
What is Mugabe?
There is Mugabe, this young man who was installed.
That one, they did whatever. Now, there is disintegration within the country itself. Uganda is not one. There is a creation of Chabazinga Busoga, which was there, yes. There is also a creation of, here in Kayunga, called the what? It was there. Recently, Buganda wanted to go and play football in Kochi. They were almost beaten. They Kamuswaga. You know, there is even not unity. There is no unity within the country.
Gideon,
and you guys, you are going to stop me. I want to go. Let me first be here. I want to unite my country. Before I unite my country, don't take me there. And if another president comes, the way we recognize how we are in our country, we shall not allow this nonsense of just bringing everything.
Thank you so much. My producer was smiling. I think she's admiring what she's enjoying. Well, we've been joined by, I think today's panelists, they're all journalists.
All right.
This is a senior journalist, is in exile.
Oh.
Yes, he's an exiled journalist and senior journalist, by the way. Right now he's based in the US and he is a strong member of the Democratic Party. Is Uncle Chiwa.
Which Democratic Party?
The original Democratic, maybe he will tell us. Is Uncle Chiwa Lawrence Nsereko.
Could be the one that you also.
Yes, Uncle Chiwa, it's a pleasure having you. It has been a while. We expected you like 1 hour ago. Unfortunately, you couldn't, but we are glad you've finally made it. Maybe we need to give you a moment to speak to us. And maybe the whole discussion is about the East African integration. During your times when you were an active journalist here in Uganda, you must have witnessed the cream or the shining moments of the East African community. And what we are seeing here today is kind of questionable. And we're trying to discuss how best can we have a functional and better East African community. You're welcome, Bwana Nsereko.
Thank you, brothers. I sincerely apologize for my tardiness. I was engaged in a classroom and couldn't be concluded the way I expected them to be concluded. I apologize. And then when I acknowledged on my side too. To the point, trying to get African integration forward so that we move forward as one unit. I don't know how far the conversation has gone, but this is a idea which we mainly agree with, that it's a good idea. But the questions that linger, that remain, that need to be answered, can maybe start by looking at the AU. Because the AU, when it was during this AU or AU, has by and large turned out to be of dictators. Okay, and this, when we do the East African community, is it going to be different from what we see the AU will there be strong elements within the community, reprimand members when they go astray? For instance, how do you synchronize the political system that is operational in Uganda, the political system that is operational in Rwanda and Kenya, okay, and the Southern Sudan, okay? These are extremely different political systems. They are at different stages of democratization. For instance, look at in Kenya, how it ended. The results are still in limbo because they are still legal protected. The process to the poll, can you compare that process to that takes place in Uganda? Okay. As people were voting in Kenya, people were voting in Kasese. And when I talk to my Kenyan friends, you feel so ashamed that you even part of the process in Kasese because of your violations of the fundamental, the basic human and the political freedom place. So the East African community needed to actually answer some of these issues before they would start talking about regional integration. I know one of my friends, Bukyana, running for office and intends to go to the community. But your job is cut out for you. Your assignment will require yourselves. What is happening in that the region office can answer? Can we answer the issues of human rights abuses in Congo? Are we strong enough to Yoweri Museveni, whom many see as the champion of the East Africa? And ask those questions and see whether you on the proper road to achieve the goals of the East African community. When you look at the charter itself, you go to their website, they are even very in discussing issues of human rights. There's nowhere on their page where that stands out as a major issue to be dealt with. The issue of political forms for the members avoided intentionally. So, how do that? Will we achieve East African community when read? Because personally, I don't think you can bring three different poisons, combine them together and get a remedy for a disease. You might act up with a more toxic. If you introduce the elements from Uganda, from Congo, from South Sudan, and you link elements in Kenya, you end up with a very diabolic situation than what we have in Kenya today. So brings the reluctance of people. The thing is, where are the indigenous people? Where was the consultations to the people of the region and their views about this cooperation? Because we see the political elite getting excited about and integrating at that level, but at the level, the local people, where they concerned, okay, somebody from about someone who, where they are a process of educating. We sign up and sign on this because we are so fond of signing these documents, the African Declaration of Human Rights, the national whatever on environmental protection and so forth. Okay, here we are. Kenya is trying to preserve a small part it has, and Uganda, we are at our best to pollute it. We give away water. Nobody is in Kenya is at Uganda. What are you doing? You are destroying the catchment areas of the lake. a year ago, we allowed to build a resort within the lake. But nobody in Kenya is asking questions. Even the members of the East African legislature who will be telling from Tanzania and countries to raise these issues are mute. So I see this a white elephant. It's a wonderful idea, but I don't see it out for us.
Uncle Chiwa, how best can we make the East African community, because we have been able to diagnose, we now know the problems, it's more of a barking dog, actually silent, a sleeping dog. So how best can we make this whole thing of the East African community function, in that when there are issues in Congo, they can rise up. If there are issues, questions to do with the democracy in Uganda, they can rise up. If there are issues in Congo, like please, part of our protocol says we have to be ABCD. How best can we put this back to the track?
I think I gave you the answer in my submission. The answer now, you hear the people in Congo, Uganda, their objectives are because the political elite make these decisions without genuine consultation with the masses. Okay, we need to go back to the drawing board. Out the people, the power belongs to the people. East African region belongs to the indigenous people of that region. Just can't give it away. Elites, and they decide what they think is going to benefit them, either by giving them power, or by elongating their stay in power, or by giving them finance, or because they are individuals who see being a problem. The real people, the citizens, there is need for a referendum to say. Program.
Thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. Uncle Chiwa is a Ugandan journalist who is exiled. Right now, he is a lecturer in the United States of America, but he follows much about what takes place in our country, and he's always good at giving counsel on a number of things and guidance on that. And then I think I want to get back to Bwana Bukyana. Uncle Chiwa says there is, I think you've discussed about this. He says the best way to put this whole thing into order is, one, we need to bring it back to the common man. We need to get away from the elites, those people who speak a lot of good English. We need to take it back to the local people and see, we have this. How can we, we must engage them. I don't know, what would be your view on that proposal, and how practical is it?
I would say my gods have been speaking on the head of Mr. Nsereko, because at first I talked about domesticating the EAC.
Yes, you did.
And I said that if we are to have a better EAC, we need to first give the people why EAC is in existence. But again, most of the people that we want to have the EAC understood are the people that fly the plane, are the people that are going to use the national IDs to go to Kenya. And they don't need a passport. Those are the people we're supposed to speak to. I'm not going to go to Chana Mukaka, to Buhweju, to Chisoro in Bukimbidi, and I tell them about EAC. Because the target for EAC is not for the person in Bukimbidi. If they are to take Irish or cabbage from Kisoro to Bunagana, then to Rwanda, they would know about the EAC at the border when they're asking them a small levy.
Yeah.
That's when they will understand how the EAC is working. For the person above those who will travel to Kenya, do some business there and come back using a national ID, then he will understand the reason as to why the EAC is there. Because if you do not feel why the EAC is there, then you can't know why it's in existence. These are some of the things that we're talking about right now. If somebody is going to Aga Khan, is going to Nairobi Hospital, and is in Uganda, and you're just using a national ID, and you don't appreciate the
So
EAC?
is it made for the people who move? Because me, I have
No,
people.
I'm saying the person in the village
Yes.
will appreciate the EAC at the border.
Yes, they'll appreciate it more.
At the border.
No, but let me tell you.
But the one who does not use the border to cross over will not appreciate
So
it.
is it for the people on the borders, or it is for Ugandans? and all East Africans. Because I have people who grew up in Ntungam in Rohama, studied from Ruera Primary School, which is in Rohama, married from there. They went to a secondary school in Ruera, secondary school. They have gone, if it is far away, it is in Tungamo and the district.
So your whole being is within the
confines there. Such a person should appreciate the East African community. One, by maybe getting a job, which would have been as a creation of East African community industry, which supplies maybe goods that are cheaper. Such a person would appreciate the East African community for the services coming nearer. If, for example,
I would appreciate such an idea.
Yes, if Uganda cannot be able to provide services as it is now, when you go in the villages, you see a lot of darkness in the whole villages of Uganda, complete darkness. I almost felt this time when I was in the village, I'm used of light when I came to Kampala. I've spent a long time in Kampala. When I go back, if I don't have a torch to move in the village, I can't move. The whole darkness completely. There is no solar. Solar is so cheap, but the houses have
you can't blame that to the East African community.
You wait, what I'm trying to tell you is if East African community cannot address such issues, then it is of meaningless to our people. Because our people want clean water, our people want good roads, our people want electricity or solar in that way. Our people want good schools, they want health facilities with drugs. If there is nothing that East African community can do in that, then it is completely meaningless. And that's why people will not appreciate. And the moment people fail, the moment the population fail to appreciate the East African community, it will not stand. Because our children, right now, our children who are in schools need to appreciate East African community. Initially, when East African community was there, they used to take some students on a scholarship, East African scholarship, to go and study. I remember there were some universities, like University of Nairobi was East African University, which would take students from Uganda to go and study.
But the East African fund is in Uganda, it's actually in Nakawa, in Ntinda.
Which fund?
The one that they give scholarships.
We don't know about that. We actually, I'm even green about
I think that's what we say, that we need to domesticate.
Yes, because
it is just in
let me tell you. Those are the things that need to be educated to Ugandans. Ugandans don't know what is taking place. Me, I'm talking on behalf of Uganda because in the first place, me, I'm the common man. The common man. I'm the chairman of vulnerable people in this country. We move from the corners of the country. The problems that are in Karamoja right now. The Karamajong are dying of hunger. Nobody cares. East Africa is not caring at all.
But if you're the chairman of the vulnerable and you're putting on a suit of 600,000,
no, you see,
how vulnerable are you?
That is the problem. That's the problem. A chairman will always remain the chairman. This one now here, as you can see, this gentleman now.
I think you're just masquerading as a chairman.
But why? Why not? Why not? Why not? I'm not there because I'm not educated. I'm not there because I cannot manage myself. But I'm there because there is a gap.
How do you fit into them?
No, you need to help them. Who is going to help to speak for them? If you think you cannot talk about those people, then you are not even supposed to go anywhere because you are not helping at all the common man. The common man needs somebody to speak for them. You are going to EALA. Don't talk about people, Gideon, who are putting on suits. Talk about the common man, the issues that will help a common man. If I have failed to get medical attention in Uganda, can I just go to Nairobi and they treat me? Freely. Can I go to Tanzania and get treatment?
I think Uncle Chiwa has something banning him. Yes. Let's first bring him. Yes, Uncle Chiwa.
I think we need to be for ourselves. This tendency of people making decisions and then they say the people will later. I totally hate that notion. Okay, the people own the elite. They own these countries. They have a stake in them. So we can't just reject them. The people they are not looking at these issues as urgent to themselves. This is the preserve of people with national IDs. You will be surprised how many Ugandans who don't have national IDs too. For me, I'm always concerned about issues of human rights. Okay. Let's take, for example, the legal regime is much Tanzania than the rigor regime in Uganda. Or let's talk about people of alternative sexuality, okay? In Kenya, they are free to move around and do what they will by their choice, okay? I might see it as a sin. They are right to do. Uganda, we are thinking about hanging them. How are we going to handle elections? When Kasese are beaten up, are shot at during an election, how will the people in Kenya respond to that? Are we going to allow these things to not to be able to be cleaned up before we export our dirt all over the? These are my concerns. So for me, I'm saying yes, the African community idea is, but we need to be able to add the roadmap. Who is going to be doing what? Who is going to be responsible these things take place? We are not going to say it's local people. The local people are the most important people for the East African community, because the reason why community is to increase the consumer. Are all in the same consumer market. The economic part of those who are arguing for East African. So who are the consumers? Who are the borders? No, it's the local people. So we need to see how this is going to benefit the person at the village level. To betray them and do things, I'm going to go back and tell them.
Thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. Well, thank you.
Accordingly,
I am giving this 1 minute and then I cross back.
Accordingly, we would have hired a referendum whether to join other countries in East African community, and people would participate.
But you were among the champions. You are among the people who championed this.
I've never championed.
I mean, the Uganda as a country.
No. What I mean that we would have been there would have been a referendum to decide whether people want to join all these that we are joining. Because at the end of the day, we shall have joined for nothing, for sure. And what Uncle Chiwa is actually saying is the right thing. You can't just start from somewhere, you bring something in the community which people don't know. Tomorrow you are not there. There is somebody who doesn't know. I've been telling you that our students, our children who are in schools, they don't know. Actually, my son, who is in primary 5, was asking me, that we see singing the East African, anthem, which is very good. He loves it so much. Say, but what is it in East Africa? He asked me. And I completely heard, what is it in East Africa?
But when Gideon,
yes.
You see, there is a lot at the East African community. Only that maybe, just like he mentioned, our leaders have not done enough to bring it down for the local people.
Something that does not...
When you look at the national ID thing, that was a creation by the East African community.
Exactly.
They agreed that all member states should have national IDs. Look at the passports we are having right now. So there are a few things that have been done, though, because we've been kept in darkness, we've not been able to recognize and appreciate.
And ignorance is no offense. I would say that if you do not know, then don't say the thing is not good. Because you need to first understand what is good in that. Then you also have to draw a line in what is bad. But I want to understand that the spirit in what the founders of the East African community founded it was good. Mm-hmm. Free movement of goods and services. The policies are the ones we should now put in place. If your student is singing the national anthem and they do not know why they are singing it, then there is a problem. There is a problem.
Yeah, do they know? Do they know why they are
They
singing
should know.
Then
why are they in school?
See, those are the issues now.
Why are they in school?
Those are the issues. Are they teaching them actually about what is happening at the East African
community?
In the
US, where Dr. Chiwa, Uncle Chiwa is, yes. Every student who finishes the first, I think it's called the senior 6th year, must go for a cadre course. It used to be in Uganda here. It was abolished.
I think they're introducing it.
They're introducing it. In Rwanda, you even sign before you do your name. That immediately I finish, I will go for this. To build the heart of the country in the child.
Maybe just for information, is that when you look at the national ID of Rwanda and the national ID of Uganda, the national ID of Rwanda has no expiry date. The national ID of Uganda expires, actually mine I think expires in 2022, 2023.
But having no expiry date is a risk. What if you die and somebody is going to use it?
So you want to say that those people are not dying? There is no system. In the other countries, don't die. No, when you go to Kenya, they don't die. You look at the national ID of Kenya.
Let me tell you something.
Hey.
Every national ID in every country is subjected to amendment. No, and you will listen in time to come when Rwanda is amending that.
No, I'm saying...
Because once they start doing the census, they will know this person who used to hold this name number died. And they will cross it in the system.
No, but if you die, you are holding your passport, which has no expiry date. Okay?
But a passport hasn't.
Yeah, it has expiry date.
It has.
Yes, but what I'm saying, that a national ID which you have, if you die, it should be returned.
Should you be a national on earth and in the
who should return it after your death?
You don't have people you meet?
You want to be a national in
Rwanda? What's wrong with Rwanda now? No, what's wrong with Rwanda now? Where there is no expiry.
That is a breach in administration.
Then how about Kenya?
It's also a breach in administration.
Then what is so Uganda is the superb in this
They
area?
will copy Muzei here.
No, you see, those are the issues now. Those are the issues. Those are the issues. I think Uganda has a
I think I need to bring in Bukyana. Now,
Bukyana has been speaking.
Yes.
Maybe we can speak together, but Bukyana has really spoke for a long time. And by the way, if it is bringing
you've equally spoken.
No, if it is bringing him, then I have also to come in. Because the man has spoken for a long time. But being
I'll continue should also tell you that. Well, before then, Uncle Chiwa comes in.
Even here in the digital, they are keeping me in exile. Because what we are arguing about is, yes, the idea is good. National ID issue. You cannot, my right to be a citizen of Uganda expires on such and such. That's not right at all. There is a of death in Uganda. Everyone who dies should be registered. So when that person dies and they go to be registered, any number should be recorded. Not to have people like every 10 years your citizenship will expire. That is very unbecoming of a regime. And for me, I think this is the problem. That because we are not genuine when we are starting these projects, we don't want the people to know what they are doing. If Rwanda had sat back, if Museveni had said that the 37 years he has spent down, we are not about to see in power, but we're about constructing institutions of governance. We would be very far away. But being it done to manipulate the local people so that they keep the power. The next thing to tell us that I will not leave power because I'm trying to build the East African community. Okay. Now, him as the power, and this idea has been around since 1917. Okay, when Uganda cooperated with Kenya in 1937, Tanzania came on board, or Tanganyika, and then it fell apart in 1960. Then 1967 was an attempt to revive it, but then issues of freedom and then issues of Tanzania applying communism. So for this attempt, the new one, to be successful, we need to all look at all the issues and agree on them and move forward, not piecemeals, but together, that this is where we are going. By today, you allow to have people's rights respected. Okay, I think it's people think it's great because in the East region, the person is a king. There are issues in Kenya, even the issues. Okay, but because we are used to 100 is dying, when people die, we don't think anybody died. So all these things put in place and put together so that we understand what we are investing in as a region.
So much, Uncle Chiwa. For our online viewers, I think we need to, there's so many comments here. Angela, thank you for watching. Patrick Musinguzi, Emu people got here. He says, secondly, look at the issue of term. I think this conversation started somewhere. Look at the issue of term limits. The member states, apart from Rwanda and Uganda, have put the constitution to work. but Uganda and Rwanda have decided to rape and violate the Constitution, which is the guidance document to true democracy and good governance. And then look at the issue of term limits, okay? Then this one says, I want to thank Mr. Lawrence. He has, this is Patrick Musinguzi. I want to thank Mr. Lawrence. He has highlighted it properly that the East African integration will still remain a joke if this country, Uganda, is still with the ruler called Museveni. We can't compare the democratic principles and the rule of law with that of the member states, and this integration can only be a success if the community is operating uniformly. That's Patrick Musinguzi. And then Namirembangela says Bukyana Julius, I don't know. Then Carlos Young, that's, okay, I think I'll leave that. There are many comments here, but I think I will not go into many of them. Well, I need to dedicate this time to this gentleman here. I want to believe Mr. Tugume will not complain. You see, and if I complain, Julius Bukyana, you aspiring, you want to represent us. We have like 5 minutes actually to get out of here. You want to represent us. What should a common Ugandan, the people represented by Gideon, expect from you if you happen to become one of the representatives?
One of the things that I look forward in my manifesto to do in the EAC, specifically in the organ of EALA, I want to make sure that the region receives the very best of trade cooperation. It is what that we are going to do in the trade that is going to determine how people get to understand about the region. If you took your pineapple to Japan and they told you to take more, are we going to commercialize agriculture in the region? That is trade. I also want to make sure that we advocate for the standby force.
Which is already in place.
Its operation, because its formulation was done, but its operation must be effected. And I know that in the next assembly, the 5th assembly, that's when it's going to be effected. We want to advocate for the betterment of it, funding of it, and operation of it. When I'm on a media like this, I don't want to break through all that is in my manifesto, because we have time after nomination to go on the floor of Parliament and give our manifesto. Okay,
but maybe the question I would ask, you see, we've been represented by very, very intelligent, very good brains there. And I'm very sure they all talk about this. But the question is, how is this done? Uncle Chiwa is saying something, but how is this done? How are you going to do this? How different are you going to do it? I am very sure these people who speak a lot of good English there, they've made the attempts to do this, to change things.
Like Gideon said, that you need to be on the order paper for you to dissect some of these issues. Every country in EALA is given time to be on the order paper. You sit as a chapter, and the chairperson of the chapter, you formulate what you talk about, and even choose who is going to talk about it. So there is room for talking about these issues at the assembly. And the chapter chairperson, who is George Odong, is always doing these things. He calls us and we understand how the region is doing in terms of bringing up the order paper. So I believe that when we go there, if you have an issue that is going to be put on the floor of the assembly, you're guided, you put up efforts as a country, and you advocate for what is better for the country and the region. And you put on the order paper. The order paper is not different from what is in Uganda. Like you see how plenary is done. You go, you tell the clerk, I want to be on the order paper. You go to the speaker's chambers. You're guided on how to present your issues on the order paper. But again, there is also need, like you see in the plenary of Uganda, for issues of national importance. There is also space for issues of regional importance. So you can raise what is happening in your country.
Well, thank you so much. I am giving you 2 minutes now to give me your parting shot. I cross to Uncle Chiwa, then Omuwejere will be last.
I believe that there is room for us to panovate our East African community. But as a nation, as Uganda, as a member state in this East African community, one thing that we should concretize is to have core members sent there. If we cannot send members who are going to conceptualize these issues, speak to matters, to speak to people that be and issues that can affect our nation, then I don't know what you're saying. I believe that I have the mandate to represent this country. I have what it takes to represent our country to a better level. But most importantly, whichever member of parliament who is watching us right now, on 29th of September, you have a choice to send competent leaders to EALA, either through that vote or through a conviction in your heart. And that person, among all the 9 members that you will choose, could be Julius Bukyana. If you give them the mandate, you'll never regret having Bukyana in the assembly, and the effects will be touched on, because I don't think as a journalist I will sit there and see things not happening in line of why I was sent there and I keep quiet. So I believe you're sending a competent member. Do not be stagger, don't stagger around. 29th September, choose Julius Bukyana.
Thank you so much, Bwana Bukyana. And then I want to give another 2 minutes to Uncle Chiwa to also give us your parting shots.
Thank you for hosting us. First of all, I hope Bukyana will link up and you answer one of my questions, because for me this is the East African community issue or concern, economic or political. I would argue that it's the political mismanagement that has put us in doldrums. So if we are going to push forward with the East African community integration, we must be able to seriously address the political questions and be to put the regional members into question when they go astray. Because there are some members, Uganda being one case, where destruction of opposing views has been the primary agenda. And if that continues, the instability cannot be rejected or denied or to take place in the region. So the people who intend to be in the EALA Assembly, we wish them luck, but they must address these issues without appending them to political goals in any way or manner. They are constructing something new for the region. And I think they have to be aware that the region needs these institutions to grow. Our political parties in Rwanda free, our political parties in Uganda free, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Congo. How do we safeguard people in the Congo DRC? How do we protect the people in Southern Sudan? Not just to create an army that is going to go into a region or a country to suppress others. Because some people see that army as an army that is being created, that if the people rise up to question a regime which is being bad, it's a regional army that is going to come and ask them. That regional army should be able to even go into Uganda when people, like it was in January 2021, and question the government and say we are here to ensure that there's election, not only to show up on invitation of a sitting president. These, for me, are some of the issues that the region needs to address.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. Yes, I'm now giving the chairman of the vulnerable people.
I wouldn't wish to belong to the quagmire of issues where my people and where the people of Uganda are still facing many challenges, not only even Ugandans, but East Africans. The issue of human rights protection is completely ignored. People are being killed. I understand that over 7,000 people in Uganda who supported the opposition are still in different jails under serious and very tortuous ways, and nobody's caring. Where East Africa cannot help such, I don't belong. We are looking at people who are completely dying because of lack of service delivery in this country. Where East Africa cannot do that, I wouldn't support. Recently, the United Kingdom left European Union simply because of protecting their integrity as a nation. Uganda was set up, was created for Ugandans. Ugandans must take part in every decision that is being taken. Where there is no decision taken by Ugandans, more especially vulnerable people, for the benefit of their rights, for the benefit of their own ancestral beliefs, I wouldn't be part. I would never even participate in being elected to any of the organ that forms that will be against my people. The creation of the force, like what it happened to go to Congo. You remember, wow, the court, the international court, criminal court, said that Uganda went, tortured, killed, raped, and did whichever, and even stole, looted the Congolese, minerals. This is not what we want. And what was stolen and what was done was not done for Ugandans.
As you wind up, sir.
Yes, as I wind up, I wouldn't be part of anything to do with the East African community if it is not for the vulnerable people. For us as vulnerable people, we are still saying we want to organize ourselves. At least we belong to a humanitarian imba. Let's go and grow coffee.
Do you have a national ID?
I have a national ID.
Do you have a passport?
Which is expiring.
Do you have a passport?
Which is already expired.
Do you have a passport?
I have a passport. What is it here?
Which has East African?
Can you go where? But we go to we go to America using the passport. We go everywhere. We have been moving. This is not the first time.
Well,
but I wish you well. I wish Julius well. Please go and campaign. Me, I'm begging my party. I just want to, because I cannot sit with Congolese.
Please ask your party to vote.
I cannot sit with the Congolese who have not solved their issues when people are being killed in Congo. I go and deal and eat with them, in Arusha. I will not sit with Sudanese when I'm seeing the Sudanese local people are being killed. I will never discuss any issue.
Ask your members to vote for him.
I will never discuss any issue by the, even if he goes, because he might even reach there and sit with the Congolese, the Sudanese who are killing people, who are doing everything, human rights violation. I will not go there and sit with those people until those issues are resolved.
Gideon, we have to please speak to your voters. Please speak to your NUP members to vote for him.
No, they have the choice. They have the choice to vote for him. He's a good man. They can vote for him to go and also to go to Arusha and he plan his way out. Otherwise, there is nothing much actually that he can do. Well, because everything that are said in Arusha is meaningless to the common man.
Thank you so much, Gideon Tugume, the spokesperson for the NUP Kabowa.
Not Kabowa. NUP party. If you bring me again and talk about the faction, I will not come back. Because I know that we held elections on 27th of March. There was a delegates conference which has never been challenged. If you, the media, you cannot accept that happened, then don't call me as from NUP. You can call me as a Mwejere or anybody else, but not as that.
Better. Okay, thank you so much, Bwana Tugume Gideon, the chairperson, national chairman of the vulnerable people.
Definitely, yes.
And then Mr. Bukyana Julius, I also thank you for creating time. Uncle Chiwa, thank you so much for being part of the discussion. And for our viewers, Nachino Rita, I think you said, I wish Ugandan Parliament can wake up and trust Mr. Bukyana because he seems much knowledgeable. That message continues, but I'm choosing to stop there for the good of this show. Well,